So I have a small thing to share. When you are very clear to the end line, you have a closing date. What should you expect during your closing? Actually, you should take a step back and you should know what you should expect few days before your closing. By federal law, you should have your initial closing disclosure 3 days before your closing. You should have your documents from title at least couple of days before your closing. So on your closing day, basically you should have read through your closing disclosure, made sure everything is right, made sure all your documents, in closing are all right. You should not expect much. I have closed almost 37 homes this year. I've gone only 4 or 5 closing meetings. I've not even gone there. As I'm mostly an investor realtor, I normally go to pick the keys the same day, but I don't go to the closings because what I do is I work with the buyer, I look at the closing disclosure beforehand, I looked at all the documents beforehand, and then he goes to the closing. And most of the time right now these days, the closings are happening online. You don't have to go anywhere. So what you should do before, make sure you have a closing disclosure 3 days before. You talk to your lender and do a walkthrough with him, have a call, get your real estate agent also in your call, go through the whole closing disclosure with him. That is the most important. If you have a PID, if you have a MART, if you have anything else going on in that closing disclosure which is difficult to understand, have your loan officer on the call with you. He plays a very crucial role to explain to you entire closing disclosure and use your realtor as well to understand it. Then all the other documents, make sure your names are correct, builder is giving you all the information about the amenities, what is going to happen, your utilities, all that stuff in the packet. You have your deed, look at the names, they are correctly written over the deed, look at the addresses where the deed finally will come to you, and look at all this documentation beforehand going to the closing day. They are standard documents as far as the state and as far as the county. Most of them you cannot change, but your closing disclosure is the critical one. Where are you going to receive your information packets, anything for future? That is a critical one. Give the right addresses for that, and make sure all the other documents, if this is in a special subdivision, you have a PID, a MUD, look at all those ahead. But last closing day should be relaxed. You should have done this exercise 2 days before the closing. You should have looked at your documents with your realtor and your loan officer beforehand. At the day of closing, you should just be relaxed. You've already gone through the documents. It should not be a closing where you spend 2 hours reading all the documents in a closing document room, one by one, line by line. That is traditional way of doing closing, where people were spending 3 hours to go close. I normally close a house 20 minutes, my own personal closings, because I read all those things beforehand. Closing should be smooth. In 20 to 30 minutes, you should be done reading all the documents beforehand, just signing them and making sure they're the same documents you saw. If you want to do it in person, if you don't want to do it online, just go through all of them online. There will be a notary and you do it online with him. So it should be relaxed. 3 days before is where you should spend most of your time. Thank you.